Hello and welcome to the Global Business Podcast. I'm your host, Marc Philpott. Hello and welcome back, everyone. If you are joining us for the first time here on the Global Business Podcast, welcome. It is great to have you here. We are talking to people all over the world about business owners and business leaders about how COVID-19 is affecting their business and what innovative strategies they're coming up with so that we can all share knowledge across the business world. That's what the show is all about. And on today's show, I have another great guest lined up for you. If you want to check out the previous episodes of the show, head on over to our website at theglobalbusinesspodcast.com. It's easy as that. You'll find all the previous episodes that we have done since we started the show this year. And I'm very grateful to all of the listeners around the world who have been sending in their comments, and also the people that would like to be a guest on the show coming forward. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, send me a note via social media. We will have a chat and we'll see if we can make it happen to get you on the show. Okay, let's get over right now and meet my guest for today and see where he is and what he's got to share with us. Marc Hoberman, welcome to the Business Podcast Show today.
Thanks so much for having me, Mark. It's an honor.
Fantastic for you to be here, and we're going to have a good chat about business today and all that sort of stuff. But why don't we start off by letting my listeners across the world know exactly whereabouts in the world you are today?
So I'm actually in Pennsylvania. I was in New York for probably well over 45 years, but I'm now in Pennsylvania, about 5 or 7 minutes from Allentown, Pennsylvania.
Oh, Allentown, that's a famous place.
Right,
I've actually
right.
been to Allentown a number of times.
Oh, 5 minutes away from Dorney Park. I'm in a place called Emmaus, but no one knows where that is. So when I say Allentown, everybody says, oh yeah, I know that.
There's a company there called Lucent Technologies.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know Lucent? Yep.
I do, of course.
And yeah, they played a little role in my history in the corporate life. There you go. I won't tell you anymore, but that's enough to know. So what's famous about the area in which you live in? Why should people come from all over the world and visit? What's there to see there?
Well, I think we're just centrally located. I'm an hour from Philly, but we're 15 minutes from the PPL Center where the Lehigh Valley Phantoms play hockey. We're 20 minutes from Iron Pigs at Coca-Cola Stadium. We're near some great colleges, Lehigh and Muhlenberg, that have amazing college productions. This is all pre-COVID, obviously. And there's just a lot of great things here. We're in a 55 plus community. So there's just unfortunately, the Wind Creek, which used to be the Sands Casino, is a little too close for my wife's liking, because I do enjoy going there. But that's another reason why people can come and visit. So lots going on here, and it's only 2 hours from Manhattan. So I think it's a really great location. It
is, isn't it? And you can, as you say, you can get to a lot of places very easily from around there, and the accessibility is pretty good as well, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. We're very close to a lot of great places.
Yeah, good. Okay, well, let's start talking about business, and in particular, why don't you give my listeners a bit of a rundown on your business career? What did you start off doing, and what are you doing these days?
Okay, so I started off in many different businesses, even out of college, selling jewelry and doing all kinds of kind of entrepreneurial type things. And then I really followed my passion. I always wanted to be a teacher. At age 10, I told my parents, if I ever win millions of dollars, I'm going to be a teacher. Because back then, as in now, you can't get rich doing that. But what a rewarding 33-year career I had in teaching, starting in the Bronx, in New York, and then ending with 23 years in Rockland County, New York, just about 30 miles north of New York City. And about 27 years ago, I started Grade Success Education, which is a full-service tutoring business, all different types of any test prep, homework help, essay help, and very specifically SAT and ACT test prep. So we've done that for a long time, and that's the Grade Success Education aspect of my business. There's also a Marc Hoberman motivational speaker, trainer / consultant end of my business, where I'll go into schools and I'll do I'll do assemblies on overcoming adversity, and I do that via my memoir, Adversity Defeated, Turn Your Struggles into Strengths. I've also done a lot of consulting and training of teachers with regards to classroom management. I wrote a book about classroom management and lesson planning. And so I've kind of melded the two together and, switched things around now because we really can't get into the schools as we used to. But basically, that's what I do now. I retired 2 years ago from teaching, but I did not retire at all. I did that to expand the tutoring business and my speaking and training business.
Fantastic. Where did the passion for teaching, or how did the passion for teaching come into your life? Was there a role model or epiphany along the way? How did that happen?
I just think that I loved school, the social aspect. I was a good student. I wasn't a great student, but I just loved excellent teachers. I mean, I can honestly tell you, I've had some excellent college professors, but I remember every teacher from first grade to 12th grade. You get a different kind of camaraderie with them. And I found out after helping a sibling with homework and some of my friends studying with them that I really loved imparting information and helping people learn. And then, lo and behold, a friend told me there were job openings back in 1987, around 85, 87, in teaching. And it went from there. So there was no real epiphany. I always loved imparting information and helping people learn. So then it manifested itself into a teaching career.
Can you remember the first days on the job, how nervous you were? What was it like for you starting off as a teacher?
Oh, geez. Good question, but not your average teacher answer. So back in the days when I was hired as a teacher, New York needed some teachers, and New York City wanted male teachers. Classroom management's a big issue. I was 24 years old, and the principal gave me a piece of chalk and said, try to keep them seated, and then he left. So I went into a room that had bars on the windows, which I think were really meant to keep me in so I wouldn't try to escape. And I did a lesson that was probably the best lesson I've ever taught. I said, oh my God, I'm a natural. I can't believe the people in my carpool are complaining about these kids. This is so easy. And my lesson was over. But the period was not over. There was 22 minutes left, and I had nothing. I want to tell you, it's 22 minutes that looked like any prison movie you ever saw. So it was not easy. And that was my first experience. In fact, someone said to me, he gave me the nickname Hobie. That's been my nickname through all these years. They couldn't pronounce Hoberman. These were 7th graders. Hobie, you look like a nice young guy. I want to show you a magic trick that my brother taught me. And he took out a bullet and said, I bet I can make this bullet explode by banging the chair on it. Now, I don't know, Mark, could he? I couldn't tell you because I left. I left to go into the principal's office to say thank you so much, and couldn't find him. He was probably out drinking with somebody saying, I can't believe I got this moron to take the job. And I just said, I'll finish out the week. And then I had a really good second day and a really good third day. I said, I'll finish out the month. And then I blinked and 33 years passed.
Fantastic story. What makes a good teacher then?
I think that part of what makes a good teacher is knowing the material. I know that what makes a good teacher, at least on the middle school and high school level, possibly even college too, it's all about rapport. I went to school and got my master's degree with people who I know knew more literature than I did. I also knew they couldn't impart it to teenagers the way I could. They don't have the rapport. They didn't have the respect. You have to give respect. So it's the passion to really help people, all people, regardless of their abilities, their age, their attitudes. And that's why I think teachers are so special. And now there are funny YouTube videos of parents saying, oh my God, I'm so sorry to all the teachers. Get these kids out of here. Trump, you got to get the schools open. I can't stand them. So I think it's just rapport and passion. It's not just for your craft, but for your relationship with your students.
Yeah, I remember back to my school days, although I didn't spend a lot of time at school learning. And I do remember, though, that some of the teachers that had a great impact on me, and they were the ones that were really passionate and supportive about the things that I enjoyed doing in my life. And I guess as a result of those, I've got a lot of fond memories of those particular teachers. And it's a very important aspect of teaching, I think, is to making sure that you're taking a genuine interest in your students. So yeah, I have some great memories about all of that.
That's a great thing. Yeah, we can have a tremendous effect on people. I mean, through the years, students who are now in their 40s, because I did this for such a long time, have written to me and seen me on Facebook and made nice comments. It's just a great feeling.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing. You've also had an impact across different generations as well, I suspect.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I have kids, some kids whose parents I taught years ago, and that's when I know, hey, I'm getting a little old here. So, but yeah, it's a great thing.
Yeah, what about tutoring now versus back in the teaching days? Is there a lot of crossover? Can you see a lot of similarities between the two aspects of what you...
I would say very similar. I was lucky in that I never got bored teaching, because when I was teaching for years in the classroom, then at some point I became a union rep. So I dealt with teachers who were having some issues with administration. And then I became for 6 years a dean. Now, a dean in high school is not as good as being on the dean's list in college. The dean in high school is in charge of discipline. So I had some troubled kids and some troubled parents, and I've had some parents who were very young, and some of them who, became parents at age 16, and now they're 31, and their 15-year-old is in my office. So there are some similar stories. There are some wonderful, loving stories. There are some tragic and heartbreaking stories. So they're similar, but I always found newness, in every couple of years, things changed.
I guess the transition from being a teacher, full-time teacher, over to a tutor and running your own business must have been quite a phenomenal change for you in your life after so many years.
Interesting. So because the transition happened over time, it wasn't as difficult as it could have been. I didn't start the tutoring business when I retired. I started the tutoring business 27 years before I retired, or 25 years before I retired. I was training people at camps and orientations, and I trained staff on team building and communication skills. And I did that slightly at corporate. I just couldn't do it as much because I wasn't willing to take so many days off from school. I retired with 180 days in my sick bank. So, my attendance was very good. So the transition was a little easier. But what was difficult is, hey, now I have all this time. I've got to really put my passion into my business. And it's not as easy to do because you're not as regimented. I don't have to be at the computer at 7:42 a.m., but I had to be in my classroom at 7:42 a.m. And I tend to procrastinate a little bit. I'm not the best morning person you ever met. So I found that to be a little challenging.
So what are the key things that you've learned as a business manager and a business owner now that you've had to either learn or grow as a business leader?
I think customer service is everything. I think managing people's expectations is very important. And you have to have a tough skin if you're going to be a business owner. I have tutors that work for me, and I have to manage their expectations, and you can't manage everyone the same way. I'm very big on meeting people at their reality, and sometimes you clash, and sometimes you have to deal with parents, and sometimes the parents do not have realistic expectations of their children, and I have to manage those expectations, and you have to be very careful. So the customer service and communication aspect, as good as I thought I was at communicating, when I got deeper into owning the business and trying to expand it and doing my own marketing and my own selling, I really had to be cognizant of meeting the expectations of others. It might be the same service, but people don't have the exact same expectations. So you have to really deal with individuals and have that kind of patience.
So would you say you've become a better listener since you've become a tutor and running your own business?
Well, I have to tell you yes, because if you interviewed me 3 years ago, you wouldn't have spoken yet. You wouldn't have had a chance, because I used to just ramble on. And even in my own life, if I had a nickel for every time my wife said I was in the middle of a sentence, I'd be a billionaire now. So that has gotten much better. I'm still working on it, but it's worlds different, and it had to be. It was made of necessity. So that's gotten better. I'm not where I need to be yet, but I do see growth every single day, and I'm happy for that.
Were you made aware of that in a very conscious manner by somebody, or how did that actually evolve?
Interesting. Only one person pointed it out in a way that was not the way I'd like to hear constructive criticism. But to be honest, that's what sparked it more than anything else. So maybe I wasn't getting the hint from others, but when I started to listen to podcasts and radio shows, if you heard me 2 or 3 years ago, I could almost imitate it now, and I could speak very quickly, but you might fall over. I mean, it was rambling because I'm passionate about what I do, and I tend to speak too quickly. And that didn't stop. I stopped that a little bit in the classroom the last 2 years. Oddly enough, I had a paralyzed vocal cord 4 years ago. And as much as the doctor tried to help me, nothing helped me more than him sending me to a speech therapist. And she said, "What do you really love to do?" And I said, "Write and this and that." And I wrote a memoir, and she said, "Bring the memoir next week." And I had to read it to her. And she said, "Okay, now read that paragraph half speed." And I did. And she said, no, half speed. I said, that was half speed. And I thought she was going to have a heart attack because this became a big, difficult thing for her. So I credit her for that. And she was outstanding and really helped me. But that's what helped me listen to myself more, but be more conscious of it. So listening, nobody likes themselves or likes their voice when it's recorded. But I can't change my voice, but I could change the speed with which I spoke, and that needed to happen.
So let's go back to January 2020, and I'm interested to know how your business vision was looking for this particular year, and what are the things that you had planned, and how was it all going to pan out for you in 2020 before COVID-19 came along?
So although both my sons have full-time jobs, they're really involved in helping me grow the business. My son Craig does the marketing, Scott does some marketing and some other things. He also tutors for me. And we had plans ready, and we had summits. And it's not easy to have a summit with your children. Let me just tell you that. And we're talking, and we're trying to make charts. And then we had months. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's create this course. Let's start this course then. And we were ready for probably the newest, biggest year of my 27 years doing this, because now I'm doing this more full time. I'm getting ready to contact schools and superintendents. So there were big plans, even before, probably in September or August, but then really ready to launch in the month you just mentioned. January, and then January soon became February, and then of course, the rug was pulled out from all of us.
So when were the first signs for you and your business that things were going to be different this year? Was there a specific day or time or week that everything happened to unfold?
I can tell you, I don't know the exact date, but what I can tell you is we've been doing virtual for 7 years. So I had a very big following in New York, and then I moved to Pennsylvania. None of my students in New York can come here. I'm an hour and 40 minutes away. So a year before I knew I was going to move, I started to do even more virtual, although I was doing it for 7 years previously. So I was getting ready to do 90% virtual. So it was actually helpful that I was virtual even before COVID. So now COVID hits, Mark, and what happens is the COVID could have made my business bigger than ever before. But 90% of my tutoring is SAT and ACT prep. And month after month, they started to cancel exams because schools were closed, and schools are usually the testing centers for the students. So they were canceling. If I had 20, 30, 40 kids ready to take a course or even private sessions, I couldn't ask them to stay with me for 30 weeks for an 8-week course. Now they're not taking the test till September. So people in April signed up for June. June was canceled. People who were signed up for June signed up for July. July was canceled. So that really shifted my ability to be successful in the SAT, ACT realm. And we were still working on other things that, of course, we'll discuss later, and videos I'm making and things of that nature. But SAT and ACT prep was my major focus at the time. And those tests being canceled were very detrimental.
So geographically, where was your customer base located?
I'd say most were in Rockland County, New Jersey, Westchester County, probably a 50-mile radius, because I have a lot of students in what's called Orange County, which is probably even 20 miles further than where I was, so probably 50 miles from New York City. So then it became a place. I mean, I have 2 students that were in Israel, because the time difference was the only problem, because we're virtual. But I tell parents, the platform I use and the way I teach and the way I train my instructors is, if you come in the room blindfolded, you can't tell for $1 million if I'm in the room with your child or not. So because I had been over 20 years in that epicenter for me, which was Rockland County, New York, that's where most of the people were. But now that we're so virtual, people tell their cousins who live in Florida, hey, I have a great tutor for you. Because now, even before COVID, it didn't really matter where we were.
Do you think all your years in teaching helped you move that transition to online business, make that much more smooth and efficient?
I think that my years in teaching helped me become a better tutor because of the clientele I taught. Some of the students were not upper level students, and I had the job of making sure they understood the information in a certain way, and that carries over into my virtual instruction. So yes, for sure, it helped me become a better tutor. Absolutely.
So for those of us listening outside of the United States today, did the closure and the shutdown of everything related to schools, did that happen overnight, or was there a trajectory going down that it happened over a period of time?
It was pretty close to overnight. One school said, well, we're going to close for 3 days and then we'll reopen on Monday, and that never happened. And then eventually it was one state did it, the other state followed. So it was, I don't know if I could say it was overnight, but it was really, really fast.
So how did the arrival of COVID-19 impact you personally? Were you up for the challenge? We recognize that this particular period in time affects everybody in a different way. So I'm interested to know how you actually were affected by it.
Well, I have to tell you that the reason I wrote my book, Adversity Defeated, Turn Your Struggles into Strengths, was to people to deal with stress. And I had stress as a teenager because of an illness I was diagnosed with. So I handled it better than I think I would have if I didn't have the experiences I had. But I know a lot of people don't have the experiences that I had. So although there was some kind of stress with it, we've dealt with it well. We exercise, we watch movies, and I was doing a lot of things, and I was still tutoring some kids. But what got me not stressed so much as depressed is when I started to go out a little bit more, and I would go to the hardware store and I'd look up, and it really looked like a bad movie. When you're looking and you see everyone in the store wearing a mask, yes, I'm so happy they're all wearing a mask and being safe, but you have to ask yourself what made us come to this, and that created some stress in me that I deal with very quickly. But I can't say there was no stress. I definitely fared better than some of my counterparts, and everybody handles it differently. But it's a difficult situation.
So you say your sons are helping out in your business. How many other members do you have in your team within your business?
So I have about 17 tutors. Some work more than others. Math, I do college essays. I have people who work for me who do college essays. We do college advisement. So I am stepping back a little bit from the tutoring. I'm starting to do a lot less to run the business more, but I do a lot of English, a lot of the college essays. And I have other people, if somebody calls and they want a bio tutor, it's not going to be me. If somebody wants a math tutor, it's not going to be me. So I have a team of about 15 to 17 tutors that I was getting ready to double and even triple before all this happened. But I also have people who work my website for me and write my press releases because I know what I know and I know what I don't know. So I've been blessed that actually I have some former students I've been able to employ who work as freelancers, who do some coding on my site, who, as I said before, do my press releases. So, there were other people who were counting on me for money too. And I trained people just before COVID, and they were about to make a good amount of money, and all of a sudden now they don't have anybody, and I'm getting emails. I really expected to have more people, and I said I feel your pain, but I expected there to be SAT and ACT exams, and there aren't. So I can only do so much, but I still have to manage their stress and expectations as well.
Yeah, right. That's interesting. I wanted to ask you about how you went about, disseminating and communicating what was going on within your business at the time of COVID-19 coming along, and how you, I guess, pushed that communication out to your community, whether it be your team members or the people that you were dealing with as far as students.
Well, I've done a couple of blog articles and more specifically a lot of emails to schools because there is, as I said, the Marc Hoberman presentation and training end of what I do. So I put things out on how to help students who are dealing with stress. So it has not been easy. You have to really be proactive about it, not reactive. But that hasn't been done perfectly yet, nor do I think it can be. So that's a large task, and I'm still in the throes of doing that.
What about your own team members, though? How did you communicate to them what was actually going on and how you were dealing with things moving forward?
Well, luckily, I've been working on some other things. I made a deal with NETV, which is a streaming service, and we're going to launch our education channel on their network. So the Great Success Education will be an education channel. So what I'm doing is I'm actually shifting, and I asked some of the tutors, how do you feel about creating videos? And I'll pay you to make videos instructing math, instructing science, and things like that. They were able to do that. I shifted a little bit to some gap year math, where people could say, okay, you missed a lot of math in school. My Tutor's Great Success Education will help you and help your child narrow the gap between what they didn't learn in 7th grade math and what they're going to learn in 8th grade math. So I was able to impart that to some tutors and get them some income and help to make them feel better. But I could not do that with everybody. And nobody's at this point working full-time for me, but this money was ancillary to their other jobs that some of them may have lost. So I could not allay all their fears, but when you talk about communication, Mark, everybody was spoken to. Everybody gets texts checking in all the time. I let them know things that we're doing and what my plans are for when school resumes, however it resumes, be it virtual or in person. So they know that I'm on top of things. I can only do what I can do.
Is it a close-knit community around there where you are in terms of people that have had COVID-19? Do you know of people that have had COVID-19, and is there a lot of support around the community for what's going on?
So I do know a couple of people. Thank God, to my knowledge, none of my tutors or their family members, but people from where I used to teach. I know some teachers that had it. I do know of a teacher's assistant who passed away, and so it really hits everybody. It's a snowball effect. Everyone knows somebody, 6 degrees of separation, who suffered from this. So it has hit some people, and if it doesn't hit them physically, it hits them financially, emotionally. So it's affected almost all people I know, just on different levels.
Okay, let's talk about government support. Has there been a lot of support in the United States for people in small business like you from the government?
There have been. I didn't apply for the small business aspect of it, but I know I have friends who have owned stores, retail stores. They've gotten money. I know restaurants in the area who have gotten money. I have to tell you that it's not a perfect situation, because some workers were not happy that the business they worked for applied for the loan, because the loan was for the business to keep paying the people to work. And some of these people complained because they were making more money not working than they were making working. So we did get assistance, tremendous amounts of money as far as unemployment checks, a stimulus for I think $1,200 for certain people, and there's going to be supposedly another one coming up, and that just pays a couple of bills. It's been so many months, but unemployment has been very helpful to many, many people that I know who were able to receive unemployment. And businesses did get some money and some loans and things of that nature.
So what is this period of time teaching you about yourself and about how to manage a business during these particular times?
Well, I've learned that you have to be able to pivot with the times, both good and bad, and you have to provide what is needed. And I've learned that, the best laid plans of mice and men often go astray. So I had plans for this year, and I didn't sit and say, woe is me, and other people could have and did, and some hit the ground running, and I had to learn that, hey, I can do assemblies, which I have done a couple virtually. I'd rather do it in person, but you have to pivot, and you have to sometimes you're going to swing and miss, but we had to make changes, and they had to be made quickly. So that resiliency is what I learned from all this, that you have to be resilient.
Are you the sole person that makes the decisions in your business, or do you have mentors and business coaches that help you?
Outstanding question. So I've always been members of what I call guru groups, and I'm always watching videos and I'm always learning more. And some are better than others, but I urge anyone in business to buy a book about customer service is customer service, whether you're selling socks or you're selling tutoring. And I've joined some guru, as I call them, expert groups on speaking, and gotten feedback on what the website should be like. So my author and speaker site has changed a bit. And so I do have mentors, and that has helped me greatly, because you don't know what you don't know. That's a problem. And there were things that I was not doing in my business that had to be done. I've joined a network of tutors that have 2 or 3 summits a year. It used to be in person, then it became virtual, and you're hearing from other experts and how they're dealing with things. And I urge everybody to do that. You can learn some small thing from anybody. And it's also important, if someone's doing something wrong, you can learn from that as well. So, many times the teacher, Marc Hoberman, has become the student, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah, good perspective. Now, interested to know what your strategy is going forward, because we're not at the end of COVID-19 yet. We don't even know what cycle we're in. But what's your short and medium-term strategy when you move forward?
Well, I don't think virtual is going to go away even when all this is over, hopefully. So I think that virtual is here to stay. So I am expanding the number of courses I have where there's more than one person private, when there's going to be 20, 18 people in a Zoom room or any other type of virtual classroom. And we're expanding that. I am, as I said, going to be on the NETV streaming service. And through my publicist, B. Davis, at Sassy B Worldwide, I've been able to connect with various people to expand my online program. So I've done work with R&B artist Naya, and with Janelle Holmes, who's a producer, and I'm bringing lessons on their music and their lyrics into schools, and I'm creating study guides that are Common Core aligned, and that can be taught virtually, that the teacher can teach, that they can have us come in on a Skype session or a video session. So moving forward, any of these things can be in person and virtual, but I am focusing now more on the virtual. I don't have high hopes for school going back to normal as early as late August in some states and September in others. I just don't think that's going to happen. So that's where my focus has been.
Has there not been a mandate by the US government that school funding is going to be cut off if they don't get back to school pretty soon?
I would say that has been a threat. It's not a mandate yet. So I will tell you, as a former union representative, that those school districts that do have union are not happy about this, because many of their teachers are 50 and over. And kids, they're finding now that there are some studies, I think from South Korea, that middle school kids and older can pass this illness on just as easily as their adult counterparts. So it's going to be difficult. I don't know that that's going to happen. That's the president's decision, and we're going to see. And still, governors can still say, well, then I won't get the money, and let's do what we have to do. But I don't think people are so eager to go back.
Okay, fair enough. Now, you talk about diversity of the things that you're doing within your business. Do you see that as going to be something that you're going to continue to explore as you move forward by bringing more diversity into the business model that you're running today?
Absolutely, Mark. I've been a proponent for years of peer mediation. I was a peer mediation and conflict resolution trainer. And I think that there's academic education is all well and good. It must go hand in hand with character education. So I've been very big with anti-bullying sessions, peer mediation, conflict resolution, team building, cultural respect and diversity, and things of that nature. And I think that's going to add a lot, because with all the protests we've seen and difficult times we're in, we're going to need those skills more than ever. I feel that the few corporate presentations that I've made, I find that they lack in the same communication and team building ways as they did when they were probably in junior high school or high school. So I think that this is going to absolutely be a major part of education, or at least I could tell you it definitely needs to be. Okay,
so let's get the crystal ball out and look ahead to 2 years from now. Can you give me and the listeners a rundown on what your business is going to look like in 2 years from now?
Well, I hope and pray 2 years from now we're back to some sense of normalcy, whatever that normalcy looks like. And I just see a tremendous expansion of my video offerings, my live offerings, my webinars for parents, tutoring private, either in person, of course, more on virtual. And I see a big expansion getting into the schools and going global. I know I'm on the Global Business Podcast. And, as I said, Janelle Holmes, who I'm working with, has a big connection with schools in Scotland. So there is the need. Look, kids are kids, people are people. It doesn't matter if you're Australia, China, the United States. So my vision is the vision I always wanted, which was to retire only to affect more lives. I love the fact that I had 100 students a year and I had 10 months to make them better students and better human beings. But I think I have the ability now to do that globally, and I think it's important. So that's where I'm looking for in the future, 2 years from now, for sure.
You're talking about going global. Do you see anything else being a challenge in going global other than the obvious one of time zone differences? What other things that are on your radar at the moment that challenge you going global?
Absolutely. Marketing. I'm okay at marketing. That's the best adjective I can use to tell you about my marketing prowess. So I have to find ways, and of course I'm working with my publicist, as I said earlier, B. Davis, and working with these celebrities has helped me. They have greater reach than I do. And although I'm getting excellent brand awareness, and I've been on podcasts and radio shows and whatnot, I need to get the word out that we offer some absolutely outstanding things. Many of the things we've offered for school districts has been free. We're looking to get sponsorships where if schools don't get this funding and their funding is cut, that certain sponsors and companies might be funding this, and we're going to look at our own grants. So that's the biggest hindrance, is getting it out there. I mean, using Facebook and social media and be it TikTok or Instagram and the like, using those things correctly so I can get the word out. There are people I know who really could use our services and don't know we offer them. And that's been problematic. I'm not a franchise at this point in time. So I'm competing with the big boys. I think we offer things that other people just don't offer. But that's the big hindrance, and we're growing and getting better at that every day. But certainly that's a hurdle I have to overcome.
My show's going to over 90 countries across the world today. There's probably people listening thinking, wow, I can help Marc out, and I wonder if the guy's open for a bit of collaboration. So there's a question, are you open for collaboration from around the world?
Oh, absolutely. I'm in talks with people in different places. One company in China, as I said, the school in Scotland, we're going to try to do work with them. So when it comes to virtual, and when this is over, I retired to travel. I was doing a camp training in Toronto, supposed to on July 4th or 5th, I believe. And in May, they decided not to open the camp. Many camps didn't open. That was global. But so be it virtual, in person, absolutely. This is my passion. This is what I want to do. I want to help as many people as possible in academic and character education. And global is absolutely the passion and the dream.
So there you go, everyone. Marc is open to collaboration. So I'm going to put all of his contact details in the show notes today so that you can reach out to Marc and tell him about how you can help him in your part of the world. So Marc, what have you learned about business in the world today as a result of this?
It's not always the dream that you envisioned. I love owning my own business, but it comes with issues. It comes with managing expectations of the customer, the parents, and the user, the child. I'm dealing with test scores now in most instances, and college essays to help get kids into the school of their choice. So just the minutia of running a business and taxes and incorporating and running a website and doing social media and the marketing, I've learned it's not as glamorous as you would like every second of the day. And I can deal with that, but it's harder than I thought. I'm not shying away from the challenges, but it's definitely not as easy as everyone thinks. People on the outside, wow, you have this, and I see your training, you're on your radio show, you're on your way, and they just think I wake up and the calls come in. They don't know that these come from emails and connections. It's not magic. It's a lot of hard work and perseverance.
A lot of people are under the impression that by running your own business, you have an immense sense of freedom in your life. What do you think of that?
I would say absolutely yes and absolutely no. I have the freedom to say to a parent, oh, you're not happy, or oh, this and that. We don't need to tutor your child. And you hang up, and then they're making 15 phone calls word of mouth, and they're going to bury your business in 2 weeks. So I'm not saying you have to kiss everybody's ring. I make sure that I treat everybody with respect and that I get treated with respect. But it's not always easy to manage the two. So yes, you do have freedom, because at the end of the day, it's under my control. But what I do with that control and how I manage it is a very, very important decision, because it takes a long time to build a good business. But as we've seen on the news time and time again, you can bury it pretty quickly. Look at how many businesses that were open 50, 60 years that closed because they've been out of business for 4 months. They couldn't bounce back from that. They've been in business 40, 50 years, and 2 months after not being open, they decided to close their businesses.
What's the most difficult decision you've had to make in your new business this far?
To decide how much I really still believed in myself and the passion, and if it was doable, and not wanting to throw good money after bad. And I value my time and my family time and my business time. So deciding, hey, this is in my lifetime, forget about my business, in my lifetime, I've never seen, with politics and protests and COVID, I've never seen these three things, the perfect storm like this, happen at one time. And this is something that I never expected. So this is something that that has to be dealt with in a very methodic way. And making that decision, do I want to continue, and do I still have the same passion? And I'd like to say that I do, more than ever.
How important has it been to have family and inner circle support around you when you've been running your new business?
That's important, because you know what? When you're running a small business, you have to get the funds somewhere. And when you have a life partner, and my kids are out of school now, but while running the business, there were college funds, and there were other things we had to pay for. And do you want vacations? And is the money going to be there? And should you maybe just get a guaranteed side job from teaching, where you could, I used to work at camp for 16 or 18 years till I opened my own staff training business, and that's not guaranteed income. So that's something that you have to manage that with family, because I want to spend family time. I always say, and it's a famous saying, it's not mine, that while you're busy making a living, don't be too busy to make a life. So, I am very cognizant of the balancing act that takes place there.
So to finish up with today, if someone's struggling somewhere in the world today with managing their business, what's a couple of pieces of advice that you would pass on to them during these difficult times?
I would say that knowledge is power. I believe that as an educator. I believe it as a business person. I'm working on a book called The Resiliency Playbook with Dr. Cass Henry, and I'm thinking more and more about the answer to your question because of what's in the book that we've already almost finished with. And you have to learn, and you have to be able to take constructive criticism, and you have to, it's 2020. You can read articles about business, you can read articles about marketing, you can read articles about stress and books and things like that, and you can ferret out what the good ones are and what the bad ones are. But you have to be forever learning. We could sit and complain all day about where we are, but anyone who thinks it's not within their power to make things better, and I did not say perfect, but if they think it's not within their power to make things better, I'm telling you they're dead wrong. And that's the most important thing, to really always be open to learning and trying to find mentors, as you mentioned earlier. And with all the podcasts out there, your show and other shows, you can improve daily. And that's what has to happen. It's a very tough world lately, and we're really going to show through our resilience, if we're going to make it through the other end of this successfully.
Yes, there's some great tips indeed. Marc Hoberman has been my guest today on the Global Business Podcast from Pennsylvania in the United States. Marc, thank you for sharing all these wonderful insights and telling us how you're managing your business during these difficult times.
My pleasure, Mark, and thank you again for having me on your show. I truly appreciate it.
There we are, folks. I'm sure there's been plenty in my conversation with Marc today that'll make you start thinking about your business and your resilience and everything else that you can still achieve no matter what's happening in and around you. Now, remember, if you want to check out more of the Global Business Podcast, head over to the website at theglobalbusinesspodcast.com. You'll find all my other episodes that I've had with business leaders and business owners across the world, as we're all intent on sharing information that's going to help each other through these difficult times. I look forward to being back with you again really soon for another episode on the show. Until then, my name is Marc Philpott. I wish you all a very happy and safe week ahead.